Hello everybody. Today we'll be taking a look at the talismans and and we'll also take a look at the cave drawings as well to see what those might be about. Now let's just get right into it. So what do we know about the talismans? We know that Boyd was the one to find them, and that is how he was able to become sheriff of the town. They also state that the town was in chaos before Boyd had found them. It seems so far they have to be hung up for them to work, and they also have to keep the windows and doors shut or they can still get in. We also know that there are only 12 of them at the moment, and as for what they do, well, for right now, we know that they ward off the evil monsters that roam the city, but is that all that the talismans are capable of? We're not sure for the moment. Now, we do know that each talisman have the same runes of them, so bear with me a little bit. I'm going to try and break them down right now, so let's see what we got. But first, what is a rune and where do they originate from? So this excerpt is info from the University of Oslo, but it says runes are not a language but an alphabet. The old Germanic alphabet, each sign represents a sound. Runes were developed around the birth of Christ, probably in Scandinavia. By the year 500, they were also being used by Germanic peoples from the Black Sea in the south to Norway and England in the north. Initially, there were 24 runes in the alphabet. They were based on writing symbols, mainly Latin letters, used around the Mediterranean. Each sign had a name and a fixed place in the alphabet. The runic alphabet is called the Fyrdark, named after the first 6 runes. And I do apologize if I'm saying the names of the alphabet and these runes incorrectly. But the runes consist of mainly of vertical staves and diagonal branches, and they have an angular look. But on the continent, runes ceased to be used relatively early. In England, they were used until around the year 1000, and there are several new letters were added to the alphabet. Runes were in use for the longest time in Scandinavia though. Here the alphabet was shortened and changed around the year 700. In the Viking Age, the runic alphabet had only 16 letters, with some runes representing several sounds. For example, K stood for K and G. The forms of many runes were also simplified. In the 1000s and 1100s, new runes were created, sometimes simply by adding a dot to one of the existing runic signs. The result in the High Middle Ages was a more extensive writing system which corresponded better to the sounds of the language. Runes stopped being used in Norway in the late Middle Ages, probably sometime in the 1400s. But now back to the theories. Now in the talismans and we see the same 8 runes around the perimeter of the talisman, and from what I can find, these are a mix of the Anzus runes, which means wisdom, guidance, or inspiration, and the other rune is the Lagus rune, which means the sea, ocean, or water. Now with these being combined, I'm not entirely sure what they can both mean. But let's jump to the runes that are in the center. Now these half circles that we see on the left and right, I personally don't think that these are runes, but just more like a representation of what is the sun and the moon. And I'm not sure what this represents in the old runic language, but let's continue. So in the direct center of the talisman, we see a collection of runes. Let's start with the ones in the middle. So this could either be 2 Quanon runes intersecting, and this rune means torch, fire, malady, or even death. Or it could be a Ingwan's rune, which means the god of Ingwans or Frey, or it could mean masculine energy. Now, the ones that look like it could be resembling in person could very well be runes as well, but these also look like they might consist of 2, so let's take a look at these as well. So it looks like it could be the long branch and the short branch of the Maor runes, which means humankind or mortality. But I wanted to say I'm not a runologist, and this is what I can find in my research. But we know that definitely these runes have to have some meaning in the show. But let's continue talking about the talismans. So normally they are used in religious practices in many different cultures. Depending on how and what were used to create them, it would charge the talisman with magical properties, and that would provide the owner with good luck or even the ability to protect them from evil and harm, a lot like what the ones in do. Now we know Boyd finds them in the cave, but who created them in the first place? Who could have made these, and why were they in that cave? It can really be anything at the moment, but my best guess is that someone from a previous cycle had to make them. But here's my crazy theory on this. Remember when Jade in the finale talks about thermodynamics and how energy is neither destroyed or created, but it's just changed to fit whatever form it needs to be? What if the inhabitants of the town previously were changed into those talismans? Like their energy can't be evaporated or whatever, so they were swapped into the talismans. I'm not really sure how to explain that, but that's my working theory as for right now. I wanted to bring up the point as well that why haven't the characters in the show tried to make more of the talismans themselves? They would have to test it, which could cost someone their life, but maybe they can start carving the runes from the talismans around the town, like in the ground or in their walls of their building, to see if that could work. But you know, that will probably be too convenient for them. Lastly, I wanted to quickly touch on what I think this painting in this cave could be depicting. Back in season 2, in the episode, we see Victor and Tabitha come across multiple cave drawings in this episode, and that is when we see this one. And it looks like it could be some type of alien creature, definitely something otherworldly. But personally, I think it's going to be the main villain of the show, and the being that the original townspeople sacrificed their childs to. Now, to me, it looks like it could be some Lovecraftian monster, definitely something from the cosmic or other world. It could be Cthulhu or even some other being from that mythos. Let's now take a look at the drawing right beside it on the left. Could this be showing us how the children were all sacrificed? We see the symbol that Jade has been seeing throughout the whole entire show, and then a bunch of people, looks like maybe 8 on the bottom of it, with rectangle looking altars in front of them. Could those be the children? But then there are also 2 people on the left that looks like maybe were not participating in the ritual. I'm guessing that these are someone important, and maybe we'll find out who they could be at a later date. Maybe these are the people that try to go against the ritual, and also these could be the original creators of the talismans. But I definitely think it's the entity, because of this drawing is definitely depicting a sacrifice or some type of ritual, and then we see the big red monster on the side, like he is in control of them all, or at least scanning something out of it. But let me know what you guys think. And that will be all for this video, and don't forget to leave your thoughts and speculations about the talismans and the cave drawings that we've talked about here in this video. And as always, please stay tuned for the next one, and have a good day.